What's up, guys? This is Michael with Turner's Tech Talk. I'm gonna do a different sort of video today. I'm gonna film my commute into work. I'm curious to see what percentage of the time I spend on my commute is actually using Autopilot versus me engaging. So I'm going to attempt to quantify that on this commute. So let's get to it. Turning left out of a neighborhood can be a little bit problematic because there's a traffic circle off to the right, which keeps the flow of traffic moving pretty well. But got out no problem this morning. All right, so we're on Autopilot. It's 8:14. Estimated time of arrival is 8:37. I found that to be fairly accurate. For whatever reason, when I first got the car, I was a little bit disappointed because the estimated arrival times were off by, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes. I was coming from using Android Auto in my prior vehicle, and Android Auto with Google Maps I found to be accurate within a minute or two, almost without fail, and it didn't adjust the time so frequently. This one seems to adjust the time up or down based on when you stop and then when you get resumed again. I wish it would just kind of stay the course and not fluctuate the time around so much. You can see it's I think it was 8:36, now it's changed to 8:37. But anyway, the point is that it's fairly accurate and I've been very pleased with it. But the first couple weeks I felt like it was a little bit off. So still on full Autopilot here. I'll be on Autopilot. Really, there's one little problematic section. Right when I get down in here, I showed it on my prior video, there's a seam in the road. The lines disappear and the road bends slightly to the left. And Autopilot is going to misread that seam and or the lines, I'm not sure which. And it's going to attempt to pull me into the left lane instead of keeping in the right lane. So we'll see that coming up very shortly. Autopilot does well through that intersection. It even sees the bike lane on the right, and it slightly shifts us to the left. So good job overall there. Okay, we're coming up on the intersection. It's actually not this intersection with the stoplight. There's a bend right beyond the stoplight, and it's going to see the seam in the road. It does fine here. It picks up this lane. It's going to shift me to the right. That's great. So it's this section right up here. There's a seam in the road. You can see there's a slight bend, and it's going to pull me. You saw the lines there, the blue lines, they shifted.
In 500 feet,
so every time it does that. All right, I'm off Autopilot. I'm going to put it back on traffic aware cruise. I'm going to pull it off because I actually have to make this turn. All right, we're back on Autopilot. Still plugging away here on autopilot. Full autopilot, auto steer, traffic aware cruise. Everything's going wonderfully boring. Again, one small gripe about autopilot. Oh, got really close to that car there. Is, holy cow, they're coming over their line. Sorry, I did have to disengage there because that car was basically in my lane. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I have 5 kids, and 3 of them are fairly young, 6, 5, and 3. Well, I let my 5-year-old name my car because I was struggling to come up with a name. So when you do that, you get names like Taco. So this is Taco, the Model 3. Told her she could name it, so Taco it is. And the family talks about Taco all the time, as if it's part of the family, which is interesting. The kids love riding in Taco. We're going to make a road trip in late July to Asheville, North Carolina area to meet some friends that are coming in from out of town. They're actually traveling back to the Northeast, I believe from somewhere in Alabama, but they're going to stop through in Asheville, and we're going to meet them over there and spend some time with them. But anyway, we're taking Taco to Asheville, and the kids are looking forward to it. They're fascinated with autopilot, and they understand the whole scheme. They know when the lines are blue and there's blue around the speed and the blue steering wheel that it's auto steering, and they just find that highly entertaining and fascinating. Another interesting point, as I mentioned, I have 5 kids. I have 2 older kids from a prior marriage, and then I've got 3 younger kids, 6, 5, and 3. And so they're all in car seats, and the Model 3 will fit 3 car seats across the back quite well, actually. I leave one strapped into the center just because that one is typically more difficult to get in and out, because you have to use the seat belt. You really have to harness it down, and then you have to use the tether in the back to really secure the car seat in the car. So I leave that one in this vehicle, and then I'll take the other 2 from my wife's car and move them as we need to use this car for a family car, which is not very often. But the moral of the story is that the Model 3 will fit 3 car seats across. We have Dionos, which are the Diono car seats are known to kind of be the king of 3 across. They're very safe car seats. They feel like they're tanks. I mean, they're heavy and very sturdy, but they're very narrow and they're very comfortable for the kids. So they do fit 3 across, and it looks quite nice actually, because they all 3 match. I guess that's stroking my OCD a little bit, but if you need 3 car seats and you're curious whether the Model 3 can do it, it can. I'll show it in a subsequent video, probably as we're loading up the car to get ready for our trip to Asheville. I'll show how the 3 car seats fit in there nicely and how comfortably the kids are. All right, so at this intersection, we have to take a right onto this road. It's not a full right-hand turn, it's more of a bare right, but I still need to take it out of auto steer, so I'm just going to use my hands to take control. For 1 second, I'll leave it on traffic aware cruise, put on my blinker, and as we go through this turn, when the lines come back and I get the steering wheel icon, I'll put it back in full autopilot. Now we're back. This road has some interesting some interesting lane shifts. It's kind of a non-traditional type of road. You can see there's a left lane line. Wow, that was nice. That car pulled in front of me. Typically the Tesla would slam on brakes, but it didn't that time. But you can see the right line here is getting very squirrely because there is no right line. There's only a left line. And here the lane is widening and the car is trying to decide whether it's going to stay on the left side or whether it's going to try to center itself. And now we have a lane shift up here. Let's see. Yep, it handles it pretty nicely there. So you can see, I mean, I can leave it in full autopilot here. It's, you know, interesting at times, and you can hear it beeping at me telling me, hey, grab the wheel. I'm not sure if I know where the lines are, but all in all, it still did a great job navigating what I feel are some interesting lane shifts and road markings. It's got to do it again here. It handled it just fine. Maybe a little late on the shift there, but it did fine. I've seen dramatic improvement in the way Autopilot handles this road, particularly in the last, I think, 2 software updates. I'm on the latest one right now, 2019.20.4.2.
Now turn right onto
4.2. I think that's right. Let's see. I'm on 2019.20.4.2, yes. So I had to take it off autopilot there for 1 second to get into the right turn lane. And I'll of course have to take it off auto steer to navigate this turn. And I'm gonna brake just in case there's a car coming. I actually have it clear. Got a little overzealous there. Alright, so technically I'm still in full autopilot here. I had to take it off there to kind of navigate that turn. And now we're going to be making a left turn and going through sort of a, I guess, mixed-use residential, restaurant, commercial space here. So I'm going to leave it off autopilot completely because we're going to go through a traffic circle, go over some speed bumps.
Now enter the roundabout and take the second exit.
Oh, I got the exit right. There's the first exit, which I can't take. And now it's telling me to take the second exit.
Turn left onto Commute Boulevard.
It has struggled with the exits on traffic circles, as I've mentioned in a prior video, but it got this one right. So you can see I'm still on traffic aware cruise, and it's handling it okay because there's a car in front of me that'll slow me down enough for these speed bumps.
Now turn left onto Carnegie Boulevard.
If there were no car in front of me, I would have taken it off traffic aware cruise because it would try to barrel through those speed bumps a little too fast for my liking. I mean, it would handle it fine. It's just a little bit rough. All right, we're almost to work now. So we're back on autopilot for a very brief period of time. To be honest, most of the time I'll take it off autopilot through this area, and this is a sharp turn that it's not going to know how to handle, just because I'm so close to work.
In 500 feet, turn right onto Congress Street.
All right, we have arrived at the office. You can see we arrived at 8:35, actually a couple minutes earlier than it predicted. I believe it was shifting between 8:36 and 8:37. But we're here, and I'll tally up the time I spent in autopilot versus the time I spent taking control and calculate the percentage. It's going to be an estimate because it's not going to be super accurate. But I'll get at least a decent estimate, which I've never done before. So thanks for watching. I will tally it up, post the results, maybe do just a short wrap-up video. All right, as promised, the results have been meticulously calculated. You can see my tabs down here where I split it up between total time and moving time. Just a quick glimpse. I did it by each video segment. I would show the start and stop. I did get a little bit, I stripped some of those segments out where I put it on autopilot, and but essentially I was having to take control of the car. To be conservative, I have stripped those results out and counted those as full manual. The other thing I did was I tried to calculate it based on total time versus moving time so that we could see, even a more conservative estimate, so that we're not counting time where I'm sitting on autopilot but just sitting in traffic and just purely taking advantage of the auto resume from the start. So I believe the moving time is the most conservative view. But either way, you can see that in the total time graph, I was on full manual for a little bit less than 10%, so that's greater than 90%. Autopilot, full autopilot, I was using about 83% of the time. But if you combine traffic aware and full autopilot, that means that greater than 90% of the time I was using some form of autopilot in my daily commute. And keep in mind, this daily commute is maybe a little atypical. It's on surface streets only, no interstate. But I think that makes it even more impressive, honestly. And then if we move over to just moving time only, you can see that I was in full manual control just over, well, let's call it 12% of the time. So autopilot was handling 88%. If I did this test in 10 days straight, I'm assuming I would get similar results. There's going to be times where maybe I wouldn't engage autopilot, sometimes where the moving time ratio to total time may be slightly different. So we're going to call this somewhere 90% that I'm using autopilot, some form of autopilot, whether it's traffic aware cruise or full autopilot or a combination. Or conservatively, we could say that I use full autopilot for roughly 80% of the time, or I use some version of assist for roughly 90% of my commute, which I think is very impressive. In conclusion, I think the results came in about where I thought. In my head, I'd always thought that I used it roughly 90% of the time. I think if there is a surprise, I think the surprise is that maybe the full autopilot isn't closer to 90%. It's only 80%, roughly, call it 80 to 82 or 83%. But that's still pretty impressive in my book, considering that it's all surface roads. My commute is roughly 9.5 miles. And again, it's all surface streets and no interstate. So for a system that is not intended to be used necessarily in this fashion yet, I think that's pretty impressive. Hey, thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it's insightful on how Tesla's autopilot can realistically handle your daily commute, in particular when it doesn't involve highways or interstates, which frankly is what autopilot today is intended to cover, but it does a great job on city streets as well. And as you can see, it covers roughly, call it 80 to 90% of the work for me. And I'm very impressed by what it can do. It has a ways to go, but it's a great start. So again, thanks for watching. And if you enjoyed the video, please hit the subscribe button. I do plan on releasing more videos related to Tesla and all things tech related. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.